I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're glad that you're joining us on this June 4th business meeting. I do want to share with you something that you're going to see on the screens, whether you're here in person or watching us online. We have used a resource called Board Docs for many years. The platform is being retired and replaced by Diligent. The district is in the final phase of transition to this Diligent platform. Diligent will provide enhanced features, improved efficiency, and a better overall experience for the staff, for board members, and hopefully the public as well. Over the next several board meetings, including tonight's, you will notice some changes in how the agenda is displayed. On July 1st, the public-facing view of Diligent will go live and be accessible by the public to find upcoming meeting agendas, Tier 1 committee information, and as well as our policies and regulations. So we appreciate your patience during the transition. Look forward to the exciting improvements ahead. I want to thank both Michelle Jones and Jane Hepler for their leadership in making this happen as well. So we appreciate that. And with that, I invite Jason to share what our vision is for the year 2030.
Recognized as one of the top 5 Recognized as one of the top 5% high-performing districts in the state.
The employer of choice for talented educators, leaders, and staff.
Fiscally sound, the track record of smart long-term planning.
Known for graduating well-rounded students who are equipped with the skills and experiences they need to be successful in the world.
Celebrated for the work we've done on culture, morale, and ensuring all members of our community feel safe and welcome.
Trusted by families and the community to make good decisions and do what's best for students.
The agenda before you has been created to help us achieve that goal in the next 5 years. So with that in mind, I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda for June 4th, 2026 as presented.
So moved.
Director Olkey,
Second.
Vice President Greider. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. We're moving towards patron comments.
President Blair, 1 second, please. I've got to generate the minutes for the voting. Give me
Okay.
1 second. You're going to see something that says motion passes in green, and that'll be your cue to move to the next agenda item.
Everyone start.
Yes.
Ooh.
We'll be patient.
People online are waiting. We're not buffering to those of you online.
Everybody just freeze.
Well, there's supposed to be a little button on here on this dashboard that says display the vote, and it's not here. So just move on.
We will move on. Thank you very much, though. Okay, so during patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to somebody else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you have taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect that speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. We also ask that patrons of the audience remain quiet in order to be respectful of the speaker's allotted time. With that, we invite Jennifer Main to step forward. We will move on to the next speaker and invite Harry Harris to come forward.
Good evening, board. Just wanted to come today because I was actually a little upset, kind of going into these last few days that it doesn't seem that our district has recognized Pride Month, which happy Pride Month to everyone. And my concern is that we are doing it out of fear of backlash. And I will fully admit that I have not read that or heard that from anybody, but I do feel that it's something that we should be doing. We've seen a lot of other districts. Webster Groves has done it. Ladue has done it. Special School District has done it. And it's just really something that we should be in the habit of doing and celebrating those within our community, especially those populations that have been subjected to a lot, and especially in the last few years. I saw something online that I did want to read tonight. Inclusive education means making sure every student feels safe and supported, including those who are LGBTQ+. Pride Month reminds us that everyone deserves to be accepted for who they are, and that our classrooms are a safe space where everyone can show up as their whole self. And I know it's summertime, and I know people are very busy and things are going on, but I did want to come tonight to make sure to hopefully put this as a discussion on the table for our board, for our administrators, because all means all. And in the past, I know I've personally said that FHSD should be for all. And with that, we need to be recognizing all of our populations. We have a lot of folks out here in this district who this month means very important things to. So with all of that being said, and because I don't want to take up any more time, I want to make sure that we just have that on the table as a discussion point. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Elizabeth McCarty. Seeing nobody moving towards the microphone. Up next is Grayson Jostis.
Good evening. My name is Grayson Justice. I am alumni of Francis Howell of class of 2013. My pronouns is he and she, and I totally agree what Harry Harris has to say about Pride Month. Again, happy Pride Month. Pride Month needs to be recognized every month of June, because a lot of students, a lot of teachers, a lot of parents in the LGBTQ community, especially me, need to be recognized and be supported. And that really needs to be recognized and supported by the Francis Howell community and also the staff here too. I came out in high school around, it was probably around when I did, I believe was How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I got a lot of support from that. Also bullying, especially now, since most adults who, and from the last board administration, and especially one particular board meeting, bullied me because of my sexual orientation, which is I am a non-binary homoerotic. But yeah, pride needs to be recognized, and especially with this district. And yeah, I'm sadly that our state government has decided to move school board elections from April to November. That means that a lot of people from the other side are congratulating that because they want power, they want control of school districts, and they want to have a two-party system instead of just a unified party for nominating for school board. So I'm very disappointed about that. But anyways, life goes on, and yeah, happy Pride.
Thank you. Up next are our comments from the presidents of our unions. So we have FHEA, then FISPA. Up first is FHEA.
Good evening. My name is Francine Hill, and I am the FHEA president. Let's start off with the celebration of Pride Month. Taking the time to recognize all the members of our Francis Howell family is just one way we can make one Howell truly mean something. Please know that celebrating others doesn't lessen the very real concerns we have for all our students' safeties. Teachers work hard every day to ensure the safety of our students, and we want bullying to stop every bit as much as our parents do. It adds anxiety to everyone's day. We must work as a team, teachers, support staff, administration, and parents to find ways to eliminate bullying. School should be a safe place for everyone that walks through our doors. I'm sure many of you sitting up here have heard from concerned employees about the increase in insurance next year. We request that you listen to their stories to understand the impact this is having on their families. Work-life balance was mentioned in the discussion regarding the use of funds. This increase will force many of our staff to get second, maybe third jobs. This won't only have an impact on their work-life balance, but it also cuts down on the time they can dedicate to their work at Francis Howell. It may even cause individuals to become run down and sick. Just some things to think about. We hope everyone is enjoying summer, and hopefully we'll see everyone back in August. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is FHSD.
Thank you, President Blair. Good evening, Board. Happy Pride Month. My name is Heidi Nixon. I am the FHSD Vice President for Technicians. I would like to address a concern affecting many of our support staff. The insurance changes approved by the Board of Education are now becoming a reality, and the impact is significant. FHSD is currently assisting a paraprofessional whose insurance premium to cover her husband will consume her entire monthly paycheck, and she still may owe additional money to the district each month. Unfortunately, she is not alone. Many employees are facing substantial financial hardships as a result of these increased costs. Support staff are now beginning to experience the direct consequences of decisions made by the Board of Education and district administration. These employees are the backbone of our schools, yet some are being forced to make difficult choices about their health care, finances, and future employment. FHSD is deeply concerned that these changes may lead to the loss of talented, dedicated, and experienced employees whose contributions are invaluable to our students and schools. We urge district leadership to recognize the impact of these decisions before more employees are forced to consider leaving the district. FHSD would also like to take a moment to recognize and thank all of our support staff for another outstanding school year. Whether you work in offices, classrooms, clinics, technology, maintenance and grounds, custodial services, or any other support roles across the district, your dedication, professionalism, and hard work has helped make this year a success. Every day, you play an essential role in supporting our students, staff, and families, and your contributions do not go unnoticed. We would also like to give a special shout out to our custodial, maintenance, and technology teams. While many people think of summer as a break, these employees are hard at work preparing buildings for the next school year. This summer, some are working in buildings with temperatures exceeding 100 degrees due to construction and HVAC projects. Their dedication and commitment deserve our gratitude and recognition. As we wrap up another school year, FHSD would like to wish all of our support staff a wonderful, safe, and well-deserved summer. We hope you have an opportunity to relax, recharge, and enjoy time with family and friends. For those employees who work year-round, we extend our sincere appreciation and hope you are able to find some moments for rest and renewal through the summer months. Thank you for everything you do to make our schools and district stronger. Have a fantastic summer, and we look forward to another successful year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Vice President Greider.
Second.
And Director Adams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. You'll pause a moment for Diligent to catch up.
Go ahead.
Go forward.
Flawless.
The technology gremlins are here. But we will go forward.
I take offense at that.
Board, I have a motion to approve the purchases as presented.
So moved.
Vice President Greider.
Second.
Treasurer McGuire. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Agenda item 7, Board, I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 27 open purchase order listing as presented.
So moved.
Vice President Greider,
Second.
Director Owens. This being posted as a separate agenda item as it exceeds the prior approval threshold of $500,000. Board, do you have any questions? I know we've all had opportunities to ask questions before the board meeting, so when you see the board not having a question during the board meeting, that's oftentimes because the questions have been sought and answered before. So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Board, I have a motion to approve Clayton Holdings LLC as the lease option for the technology purchases.
So moved.
Vice President Greider,
Second.
Director Adams. This individual action item was previously approved by the board at our May 21st meeting. It has been added to this agenda item to revise the name of the bank from Commerce Bank to Clayton Holdings in the motion. Nothing else has changed. Any other questions, board? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Or there's a motion to approve the 26-27 facility use rental rates as presented.
So moved.
Vice President Greider,
Second.
Director Olkey. This agenda item is posted as a separate agenda item as it contains an increase in rates for the community to use the district facilities. So we have a moment. Are there anybody from the district who want to speak to this? Any questions, board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Board, I have a motion to approve multiple vendor contracts for alternative transportation services as presented. So moved. Director Adams, seconded by Vice President Greider. This agenda item is also being posted as a separate agenda item for alternative transportation services and their contracts. The estimated value of the contracts is $1,350,000. And so here, is there Mr. Broom to speak? Or just be available? Gotcha. Board, Ms. Hepler, is your intent to have Mr. Broom speak or be available for questions?
If there were any questions.
Okay, appreciate it. So board, you've had a chance to review the material for the last week. Do you have any questions for Mr. Broom that you've not already asked?
Will this amount need to change if the prices of fuel are changing?
Yes, so there is some stipulations in the contracts from all the vendors that there are increases for fuel costs associated with the rising fuel cost or just the fluctuations of it.
Has the estimate used current prices within like the last month or so, or are we looking at older prices from several months ago?
So this is going off of the same pricing that we had from this past year, just because of the threshold for which the price would increase is significantly higher than what it is currently. Now, it may change, but we felt comfortable enough to say that we would be close, if not at or under that $1.3 million.
Is there any type of a limit documented where we wouldn't go over within the contract?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you.
And for those of you reading the memorandum, you'll see that we solicited bids from 10 different companies, and this is a collection of 3 different companies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so this is a high price. However, public schools are for all students, and this allows us to make the space and the transportation available and required to have all students attend.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Any other questions, board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you.
Board, I have a motion to approve the meal and a la carte price recommendations for the 26-27 school year as presented.
So moved.
Vice President Greider,
Second.
Director Adams. Board, any questions about this topic?
I would like to state as a parent who pays, or when my children were in school, what we're paying these prices. Oftentimes my children didn't know what was a la carte versus what was a meal. I hope that the prices, or at least the signage, is visible enough that students understand this amount. As a parent who has had a child who would get like 5 things off the a la carte menu, not knowing that it was a lot more. I hope that there's signage for our students so that they also understand that this cost is something that can help them learn to be fiscally responsible as well.
Is there, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And for admin, if it isn't already happening, if that could be happening, if you could make it happen.
Colvin is in the audience.
I would, Ms. Colvin, who's our director with Sodexo Food Services, is here tonight to answer any of the questions the board may have. So, Ms. Colvin, if you're comfortable and have an opportunity to share just how we share with students meal prices.
Absolutely. Yes, all of our secondary schools, we have the a la carte posting at all of the registers, and throughout, and the chip racks and everything have individual labeled prices on them. That really helps students know what is additional cost. In addition, it's actually USDA regulation that we post exactly what's part of a meal, so making sure that they know they can just not get pizza, but pizza, fruit, milk, all of that is part of a meal price, so to make sure that they take advantage of our unlimited fruits and vegetable bars and milk and what comprises the full meal.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any
other questions while she's here?
I just have a comment to make. My kid loves Bosco sticks, and every year for her birthday, that's what she wants. Do you know how impossible it is to find Bosco sticks in the store?
Yes, I do. My kids also love Bosco sticks.
So, thank you for introducing that to our lives.
You're welcome.
I believe they're at Gordon Food Services.
Oh, I have a source now.
There we go. All right.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Board, I have a motion to approve Part 2 of the 26-27 staffing plan as presented.
So,
Vice President Greider,
Second.
Director Adams. Ms. Simpkins, our Chief Human Resources Officer, will present.
Good evening, Board. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present Part 2 of the 26-27 staffing plan with you. As we updated and revised the overall 26-27 plan, we continued a strong focus on our strategic plan as this work touches many pillars. I will remind you, you saw this slide before, that the pillars are in order of how they impacted this plan. Pillar 3 has been our most influential driver of the plan, followed by Pillar 1 to meet academic outcomes, followed by Pillar 2, workforce planning, as shared in our initial staffing presentation in January. This slide is just a quick reminder that this really is a year-long process. If approved, Part 2 changes will be implemented over the next few months as we prepare for the start of school in August. In January of 2026, the administration presented Part 1 of the 2026-2027 staffing plan, and the board approved a status quo plan early, which strategically allowed the district to post vacancies early when the certified candidate pool was the strongest. The majority of those previously approved positions were redistributed across the district based on projected enrollment. To ensure the district maintained the necessary financial resources for this baseline plan, administration intentionally held back 7.76 positions, which included 1 vacant deputy superintendent position and 6.76 unassigned certified staff positions. When preparing Part 1 of the plan, we were closely watching Prop RT, state legislation that would pose a negative threat to our budget. And while this proposition ultimately failed, administration continues to closely monitor new proposed legislation and its potential long-term impacts on our revenue. Consequently, after refining the FY27 budget, administration is recommending a conservative fiscal protective approach to Part 2 of this plan. Before we move into that, I'll remind the board that there were several requests for the use of these positions that we placed on hold. Requests to even add staffing as we went through meeting with different leaders throughout the district and did that workforce planning. Many of these recommendations are not included in Staffing Plan Part 2 due to the limited resources we felt were available. Overall, Part 2 of the plan slightly increases FTEs, but at the same time results in a net savings to the salary budget, and I'll share that information here in a moment. Let's talk just a little bit about the details that come with these changes. So I shared this chart with you in January. It compares our central office administration team with other area districts. However, even this chart is not comparable when you look at apples to apples. The asterisks note the districts that are supported by special school district, who provides administrative staff to support special education students in programming. So these districts have an additional layer of administrator support in each building in their district. For the 25-26 school year, Francis Howell operated with 16 administrators, as 1 deputy and 1 director were held vacant. Part 1 of our plan included filling the director level position, and we held the 2nd deputy position until we could finalize the budget work. It is just as important that we focus on these positions and attract and recruit strong leaders in these roles because they impact the decisions across our entire district. We need to be competitive with salary and structure positions so that the workload is manageable here as well, or we will lose these strong leaders. However, when we were creating Part 2 of the plan, it was important to us that we put the resources closest to the classroom when we could at this time, because we did not have the opportunity to meet all of the needs across the district. With 2 deputy positions, Francis Howell still had the highest ratio of leaders to students at 1 leader to every 910 students. And you'll see once we decide not to fill this position, we are down at the bottom, 1 leader to every 964 students in our district. As we move to the certified side, this gives you just a list of the big ideas for our staffing. We will eliminate that 2nd deputy superintendent position. We'll utilize the unassigned held positions in the following way. We'll add 1 special education teacher at each high school. We'll increase 1 English learner teacher position from a 0.5 to a full-time position. We'll add 3 board certified behavior analyst positions, or BCBAs, 1 at each of our Title I elementary schools. We'll add a 2nd $5,000 counseling teacher leader stipend to split the program oversight effectively between elementary and secondary schools. And we'll add a $5,000 stipend for ADA technology compliance that will support the district in reaching compliance with the new federal digital accessibility rule. In early childhood special education, we're adding 1 full-time position, a 0.5 teacher, and a 0.5 SLP. This will support the enrollment that we're seeing for special education students at our Hackman Center. And then finally, with support staff, we'll reclassify 1 HVAC position to a systems specialist. We've reduced 1 English language paraprofessional position, and we're adding 4 title-funded positions to support programming at our title schools. 2 behavior support specialists, an instructional para, and an English language learner para. So while our overall plan slightly increases positions, or FTEs, using Pillar 3, Resource Allocation Strategy 1 as a focus, much of our salary costs will be covered by Title I and ECSC grant funding. The district's salary budget will see a savings of $504,608 with this plan. Administration believes this recommended plan is reasonable, it's fiscally prudent, and it's operationally sound. By aligning expenditures to meet priority needs, especially in high needs areas like special education and building level behavior support, this plan executes our comprehensive workforce planning, Pillar 2, Workforce Planning Strategy 1, And Pillar 1, Student Support Strategy 1, to meet the needs of our ASH students. Further, it optimizes process improvements under Pillar 3, Process Improvement Strategy 2, and leverages external Title I and ECSE grant funding, Pillar 3, Resource Allocation Strategy 1, alongside our central office reduction. The district maximizes our revenue and controls our costs. This strategic approach ensures that we remain fiscally sound and efficient as an organization and maintains the high quality service and compliance across all of our operations. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I guess you keep using the word financially prudent and conservative. I understand that. Is this the plan you would present if the state was going to fully fund the state adequate target?
I think what's important to me, Mr. McGuire, is that whenever we add positions, they are sustainable over the course of time. We have had a history in our district where we have added positions and then we've had to cut, and then we've added or we've cut. Or we've added positions and then we haven't been able to provide salary increases to our staff. So, as I look at this plan or whatever the future might hold for revenue, I just want to be sure that we are providing some stability for our staff because that helps us with retention and all that hard work that goes into recruiting and training those folks.
What I'm hearing is, in a perfect world, you'd want more staff. We're not doing that.
Well, you saw the slide where, back in September and October, Dr. Leek and I went out and visited with every district leader throughout this district. And, sometimes our questions are, if you had an open checkbook, what would you want? Like blue sky, tell us all the great things. To sometimes asking that question of, just tell me exactly what you would need, right? And there have been several years where we haven't even been able to meet those needs just because we haven't had the resources to feel comfortable adding that staff sustainably over the course of time. We know the impact of not giving teachers a step. We know the impact of not giving staff good raises. We know the impact of what it feels like when we have to cut, even if they're positions that are vacant, that uncertainty that goes across the district. So yes, if we had more resources, we are a people-intense business across all of the areas of our district, whether that's in the classroom or here in this building with our leadership. And we are very lean in some of those areas.
So the follow-up question, with our administrative ratio, that means they're doing more than what administrators do in other districts. Is that long-term sustainable for those individuals?
I think it has its toll on our administrators, just like when we have higher class sizes for our teachers. We have lived this life as administrators for some time. I do think we see some administrators leave the district because the work-life balance is hard, the hours are very long, the evenings, the weekends, those sorts of things. Do I think it has an impact on people? I do. But it's kind of become the norm here in Francis Howell, the expectation, I guess.
I just want to say thank you for the thoughtful plan. I know we continue all to have really difficult decisions, and it's really hard when you hear and read things, social media and whatnot, about how we just need to cut back, they're spending too much and blah, blah, blah. I just want the public to be able to really understand how scrappy this district has been for so long. And, we hear the frustration with teachers and staff with insurance, and that's horrible. We see that we have one administrator for every 960 some
for students.
That is crazy. And then we see that we had 33 positions that we need that we can't fund. It's like hit after hit after hit, and this district continues to excel. And so I think that's amazing. And when you're doing so many things so well, I think it's so easy for people to just think they don't need anything, they're making it happen. But I don't think that we can overstate that long-term exhaustion that I see, from you guys continuing to show up. And so thank you. Thank you to our teachers. Thank you to everybody who is showing up for our kids in all the ways that you do. And I really think that we collectively are going to have to find a way to rally the public around them showing up for our kids too.
A question that I'm not sure how many of us have received from the community, but I know that at least a couple of us have, is the fact that Francis Howell Union doesn't have a nurse. And I was wondering if you could share if there are any other schools besides Union that don't have a full or a part-time nurse, and if Union is the only school that doesn't, why that is, and when you were meeting with the administrators, if that was listed as a need or a want, and if there is a plan to bring a nurse to that school in the coming years.
I don't have all that data right here with me, so I'm going to do this from memory, Mr. Adams, so forgive me here. All of our buildings have a nurse, or sometimes a nurse and a half, or 2 nurses depending on the size of the buildings. Union does not have a nurse, but our nurse coordinator is often located here at 801. Her office is here, so I think that has been partly the reason behind not having a full-time nurse at Union, is there is someone available. That was not a request made of me throughout this year's staffing plan, or have I heard that in the past? But I would be happy to just make sure that I ask that question and look into that going forward.
I apologize for springing that on you instead of asking
That's okay.
in advance, but it just occurred to me.
Yeah, no worries. Related to the staffing plan, Mr. Blair, I just want to point out that we are going to be having a transportation job fair on June 15th from 1 to 4 as we start to fill our school bus monitor and driver positions. So just a little advertising here to fill those positions that are in our staffing plan.
You're saying June 15th, there's a job fair for our transportation positions?
Yes, for school bus drivers and monitors on June 15th at 4545 Central School Road.
Did you say June 15th?
June 15th at 4545 Central School Road from 1 to 4.
Halfway through the month, halfway through the day.
On-site interview, sit in the bus, see how it feels, interview on site. We would love to have you part of our team.
Before,
Wait,
one second.
don't go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting the commercial.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that time.
Other questions, board?
I was curious, and this is just me being a teacher in a classroom kind of wondering. Have there been any creative out-of-the-box conversations about bringing high school students into younger level classrooms to get some extra support in terms of maybe hall monitors or just helpers in general through any of our programs that we offer?
We do have the Pathways to Teaching program at our high schools, and I do know that I think it's usually in the second semester, maybe, Glenn, you can help me with the curriculum part of that those high school students do go into classrooms and work with teachers, maybe teach a lesson, something of that nature, as they are trying to determine if they want to follow that pathway into teaching as they go on to their secondary careers or outside of high school. Other than that, I don't know of any specific program that would have our high school students, in our middle or high schools, or elementary schools, sorry.
I know that our students who are pursuing their A+ accreditation need to get 50 hours of community service. I'm wondering if maybe that's something worth exploring, allowing them to maybe be some form of student leadership where they can earn that credit by, going into our younger levels, elementary perhaps, and being assistants in some capacity to help our teachers because we are seeing and feeling that crunch so hard. Something worth exploring.
Yeah, definitely. There are some programs and opportunities that exist already with the A+, and we're doing that, but I think we can expand that and look at expanding other opportunities more. And we do have a student participating in our youth apprenticeship program, who she is going to be working at early childhood in the form of a para out there. And so definitely looking to expand those opportunities.
Yeah, love that. Thank you.
Other questions, board? I do want to point out on slide 7, that indicates that there was a request across the district to add 33 full-time, the equivalent of full-time positions, right? Full-time employees. The proposal you are presenting is how many?
Well, we We're readjusting some FTEs from support and certified in that summary, but we really just reallocated the 6.76 positions into Plan 2. We aren't adding positions.
Gotcha. So there was a
Overall.
request for 33. When we listen to those at the building level, those who are spending the most time with the kids, they, in their attempt to create the best education for all students, said 33 additional positions will help us as teachers and staff perform what we need to do to provide the best public education for all students. Because of financial defunding, we are not able to say yes to those requests, as well as to the insurance requests that we've also have heard too. I just want people to point out and pay attention to slide 7. It would have been $2.4 million in order to cover the 33 requests to just make sure we are doing excellent work in educating all students. By not receiving the fully funded formula from the state, we will lose $6 million this particular fiscal year. And we lost $3 million the previous fiscal year that they didn't fully fund. And the public had to beat back Proposition RT 5941. It's a pretty significant beatback in order to protect $4 million loss too. For those of you who are watching at home, I want you to know that the people who can do something have been doing something to push back, and yet we still have these realities in front of us. So the reason why we're not having 33 additions instead of 6, or just filling the 6, is because of the revenue loss from the state. It's right there. So slide 7, if we did not lose $6 million this year alone, some of those, if not all those, could have been responded to. So I appreciate you presenting this as a staffing plan. I also know that you're presenting this wishing it could have been full of more yeses than it does include. And so I just want to name that for the public that I like Vice President Greider's word, scrappy. I appreciate the scrappiness of every administrator, of every para, of every employee, custodian, who's doing more work because that's what the state is doing to us right now. And so I just want to say thank you for that and call it out for the public to see it. Any other comments regarding the staffing plan? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Simpkins. Board, I have a motion to approve the 26-27 substitute and miscellaneous pay rates included in the compensation workbook as presented.
So moved.
Vice President Greider.
Second.
Director Adams. Board, do you have any questions? All those in favor say aye.
I have one question.
We'll pause. We'll just say the diligence slow. So what's the motion?
So we're just rolling into one book, the substitute pay rates, but I noticed other discrepancies in this book that raises questions. For the stipends and other outside of teacher, that's supposed to be reviewed at some point in the next year. Is that correct, Mr. Delaney?
Are you talking about the extra duty stipends?
Yes.
Yes. So we negotiate extra duty stipends and extra duty salaries with FHEA. And we provided a 5% increase for all of our stipends. We did not have enough time within that negotiations timeline to really dive into changing that structure, so we did commit to work together throughout this year. We'll have an extra duty committee that will come together starting in the fall and really look at how other districts provide their compensation for extra duty, see where we fall, really do that compensation study, and then we'll bring those recommendations to negotiations when we come back together. While we have a 2-year agreement with FHEA, we do reopen for salary, and that will be part of our conversation together. What you're approving in the book tonight is just the substitute rates of pay and the miscellaneous rates of pay. Everything else in the book has already been approved by the board through negotiations, salary schedules, and whatnot. But what we wanted to highlight was just the idea of the compensation book. Again, as part of strategies 2 and 3 of process improvement, really creating one source of information instead of having multiple memos that come to the board, multiple places for information for compensation. This is really exciting for our payroll team, for our HR team, for our employees, where they can go to one stop spot and see all of the structures that we have. And hopefully we'll just continue to make that better as we work through it each year.
Okay, we're gonna start back. So this is a motion to approve the substitute and miscellaneous pay rates. Do I have a, do we, so we have
Already
the
moved
first.
and seconded. I think we're just ready to vote.
Okay,
All
gotcha.
in favor?
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Up next, board, we have the annual budget presentation. That's why we have 2 meetings in June, so we can have a budget presented to us at this meeting for us to consider and then approve the next meeting. The annual budget must be adopted prior to July 1st each fiscal year per Missouri statute. Dr. Amy St. John will present the 26-27 proposed budget. And again, the board will take a vote on the recommendation at our June 18th meeting. Dr. Amy St. John.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present to you the 26-27 budget recommendation. Albeit it is several slides long, I will help you to understand that we're really just stacking together the last several months of presentations as I have been bringing you each part of that, and then we've just continued to grow upon that. And so with that, I will move through a few of the slides a little bit faster because those are the sort of the mainstays of the slide deck. In terms of what those are. And then I'll pause on a few and just really kind of point to you because there's also a full budget book that's part of the attachments, and I'll reference to what page numbers. You can learn more about that to get some of the description or some of the changes in those percentages. So with that, this is the budget development calendar, as I have mentioned, and this is where I have stacked together each of the presentations throughout the school year to get us to the June 4th budget meeting. And as mentioned, on June 18th will be the official vote for the budget and that is a statutory requirement for us. In order to move into the next fiscal year, the budget must be approved before July 1st. This is the fund requirements that we do talk about each month, so I won't spend too much time here. These are the 4 funds for which our funds must go into based upon certain criteria. And then again, that budget development's presentation schedule, and this is the comprehensive review of all the revenue and expenditures all in one location, as well as a little bit of additional information to support those through the budget book. The budget development process is really sort of an 18-month cycle. So you talk about going into the next budget while you're finishing the one that you're in, then you begin the next one, and then soon after that you begin working on the very next budget as those budgets start to roll together. These are the Missouri statutes that we must fulfill, as well as our board policy. The full budget book must be created each year with a budget message. It must have an estimate of our revenues and our proposed expenditures, as well as the debt schedule, including the interest amortization schedules for those future payments, and then a general budget summary must be included. Our board policy 3114 indicates that we must maintain a 15% fund balance, and again, that information is brought to you each month as we talk about what the projected June 30th fund balance should be. Now we'll begin talking about the revenues. I've talked a lot about this year because we've talked about the threat against these revenue sources. And so the first one we'll begin with are those local taxes. And as you know, that's based upon the assessed valuation of the district, and it has also to do with the consumer price index or the rate of inflation, and then the collection rate for which we are bringing in those taxes, the way that people are paying the taxes on time. In addition to that, we have something called Proposition C, and that is a statewide tax that goes to districts, and that's based upon the tax collected in the statewide measure, and then it's measured against our student population for its allocation. The primary factors that affect our state revenue are the measurement of attendance and membership. So we count the students in whole, how many students are there, and what is their attendance rate, and then we also review their membership. So if a student attends school, we'll say for 3 of 6 hours in a day, that student membership would only be 0.5. So it's really starting to look at the amount of time that the students are coming to school, as well as they are enrolled in school. In addition to that, we have the state adequacy target, again, something I have talked quite a bit about. That is the state sets an adequate target, and then they let us know if they're going to be able to pay us at that number. Next, we have the dollar value modifier, and this is really a cost of living adjustment, and each school district has given that information by DESI, letting you know if you live in a little bit more a higher cost of living area, it's adjusted up for that. And then there are weightings and the way that the formula is presented back to us in terms of our students with free or reduced lunch status, special education, or limited English proficient. The factors that affect our federal funding are our federal funding is really Title I and as well as our food service. Those allocations are presented to us about this time of the year. They tell us what we will have in the fall, and then in addition to that, we will get an additional carryover if all of the funds have not been spent in the year that you are in. And those are finalized in the fall each year. We did see an increase in our Title I funding based upon census data. It's nothing that we do, it's just what is calculated in our area in terms of our population. Our student enrollment is, as you know from the demographic study that we did earlier in the year, we are a flat to slightly declining school district. In this chart, you will notice just by the two arrows that I have there, from 2019-20, we had 16,735 students, and we are, at the current year, we are 16,321, and this is the September count. Each school year, the last Wednesday in September and then the last Wednesday in January are the two official count dates, but oftentimes you will look at September over September. In this decreased population, what we're looking at and projected for this coming September is 15,999, and that's really if we don't look at the alternative sites. So that's really our primary buildings, and that's really what Lisa looks at for her staffing allocations, is understanding how many students will be in our primary buildings and not our off-site programs such as Francis Howell or Westwood or other special services. So when you bring the two numbers together for what it has been, the adjusted number for the year would be about 127 students decrease from the current year that we are in. So again, a slightly declining enrollment. A little bit more information about local taxes. More information can be found on pages 7 and 8 of the budget book. And this is really just a breakdown of the estimated increase that we expect to see for our local taxes, and that is primarily due to the new construction, for which we can get a full increase for that in the year that it occurs. And so you've heard me talk about the Hancock Amendment, and I'll share a little bit more about that in just a second. That does not come into effect at this time. We are able to collect the full amount of that increase. We receive that information in March of the school year, and we were able to calculate, we expect that as an additional local tax increase. As I mentioned, the Hancock Amendment comes into play in the reassessed year. So as the reassessment happens in an odd numbered year, then we have to take as a school district the lower of three things, either the actual assessed value growth or the inflation rate, or also known as CPI, or 5%. And so I've showed you that table over time where our actual levy has gone down. We're more than $1 less than we were just 10 years ago based upon how this has worked. This has been in place since 1980, and it actually is working, because that means that the assessed valuation goes up, but it ratchets down the levy so that there is not a windfall that goes to any of the levied in or taxing entities. When we talk about the state basic formula, we also talk about the classroom trust fund at the same time. Those are both state funds, and those are the ones that I've talked about calculated based upon the SAT or state adequacy target, which is currently set at $7,145. And the year that we are in, it has paid no more than $6,900. And as a reminder, at Francis Howell, based upon our local tax effort, we actually only collect about $3,000. So we get about half of what any number that we are looking at there, and that is based upon our local effort in the calculation. For this budget season coming up, we are going to use $6,700 as a conservative number for our state adequacy target, and then that would be reported back to you each month as to what the payment is actually paying. There are estimates that it could come in at $6,800, and if that is the case, then a budget amendment would occur so that we would bring that revenue dollar back up according to what we would be seeing in that payment. There's the dollar value modifier that I talked about. We are set at $1.88, so we are slightly higher than, or meaning that or it's a little bit higher cost of living here than some other places. And then when I talked earlier about membership and attendance, the formula from now until 2030 will continue to increase the percentage of membership as compared to attendance. For many, many years, my entire time ever looking at this, it's only been based upon attendance until last year it switched. And so it was 90-10, and then it's going to 20-80, and then it'll go to 70-30, and then it'll make its way to 50-50. And so the reason I bring that up is because it will be very important in the future for us to monitor the membership calculation and really understand the amount of time that students are enrolled in our schools, and really monitor any part-time students or any students that would be leaving early, because this will affect the funding that will be coming in based upon that calculation. And that has not been the case in the past. So that's new information that I just want to bring forward to you. Additional information in this regard is on page 9 of the budget book. And in addition to that, at the back of the budget book where all of the codes are broken down, those are going to be objects 5311 and 5319 on page 20. This is that Proposition C sales tax. This has been around since 1982. It is a 1 cent statewide sales tax, and it is based upon, again, that student membership, as well as our student population, and then their attendance in that same format. Unfortunately, with the state dollars going down for the state adequacy target, this is also going down next year. We've been paid at $14.52 per ADA, and we'll be moving to going to $14.52 from $14.65. So that's reducing by $13, which is an overall decrease to the budget of about 2.4% for that particular revenue source. State transportation is currently stated in FY27 to be 100% funded. We are 95% funded for this current year, but for budgeting purposes, we decided to have no change. We want to just keep monitoring that and make sure that we don't overestimate those revenue sources. And so for next year, we are budgeting the same as what we have received in the current year. And as a reminder, your transportation dollars come in based upon the year prior. So the year we're living is the one we'll get paid off for next year. This is the financial institution tax that has a very wild history here in Francis Howell School District. You can see on the right the chart that tells you what that number has been through the years. It is never a source that should be ever budgeted because it is unpredictable. And so if the money were to come in at one particular year, then the board would need to decide how to handle it as one-time money. It's not to be built into or baked into the budget calculations, as it is unpredictable. More information is on page 10. Our earnings on deposit will also need to have a revenue reduction, most notably in the bond proceeds, as those are dwindling. Obviously, the interest that would be earned on that would be less going into the next year, and so that is a $1.25 million decrease to the budget overall. But again, it's because the bond proceeds are being spent down. This is the tuition-based program for preschool that we talked about earlier in the year. This is something that we will be monitoring the revenue as well. So in tonight's consent agenda, there was a grant opportunity, or is a grant opportunity for us to apply for with DESE, and that's the Missouri Pre-K Quality Grant. And we will be, with your permission tonight, we'll be filling that out, and we'll be seeking some additional funds that would be available. So we set the rate at that $70 per day a couple months ago, and that's still in play. So parent tuition is still available. But what we know is we will pair with the pre-K ADA money that's available to any student that's free or reduced lunch will have free pre-K next year. So we're working with those families, helping them to understand how that would work. And so then in addition to that, we are seeking dollars through that Missouri Quality Pre-K grant to offset any dollars that we could for full pay students. If we get the grant, that's how that would work. If we don't get the grant, the families already know that the parent tuition portion is still in play, and so that they will be communicated to. That grant is due on June 19th, and we're supposed to know if we get it or not by July 1st. So it will be a good thing if we get it, and it's okay if we don't because we already have a plan in place. And then that revenue will be monitored and again brought forward through the financial monthly reports. And this is vacation station in a similar format that, again, that was set and this is also supposed to be kind of a budget neutral. We're not trying to make money. We don't want to lose money. And so it really offsets its expenditures based upon the rate that is set for it in that as well. Other revenue are just kind of a variety of things. Again, that title funding, we do see an increase in that, and that's why we were able to apply that to some of the questions and the things that were going on in the title buildings that were being requested. We have a couple little adjustment things. Sometimes it's due to timing. For instance, our early childhood payment came in this academic year. It was really for last academic year. That just happens if you receive it in July, but you don't count on that money going into the next year. And so we're offsetting that. And then some other federal revenue is a slight decrease. So that overall change for that area is $825,000. And then this is the summary of all things that are changing for the operating budget. So again, that's your general fund and your teacher fund. And that is a $2.3 million decrease in revenue overall. And that can be found in the operating chart that's on page 3 of the budget book. And then this is the remainder of the revenue. So this is the changes that are happening to the debt service fund and to the bond fund, as I mentioned earlier with the earnings from deposit. And then this is a look at all funds that will be decreasing in the revenue area. And really that largest piece that is a little different is that bond fund of $1.25 million. And then the overall is $3.4 million for revenue. And you wonder maybe why the teacher one is a little bit higher, and all of your state funds go to your teacher fund. And so that's where you're going to see that, as well as that classroom trust that I talked about. So now moving into expenditures in a similar format, we'll talk about primary factors that are costing the largest expenditures. Again, as you know, our staff and health, or staffing and our health insurance are the two largest costs that we have. Student enrollments and programming, inflation cost as we pay for the price of any of the regular goods that you all think of, including gas and fuel, as well as just energy costs and just the price of running buildings. And then any of our purchase services, those also ratchet up. So anything that we're software-wise or working to purchase books, any of those things are going to see increases as their cost of doing business is going up. This is the staffing plan as you saw it as staffing part 1, but I do have in the expenditures because this chart wasn't complete, and so I just am stating this is staffing plan as you saw it in January, but because we were able to account for those revenues, I have created the space for those positions in the revenue, the expenditures. There are different types of benefits. When I talk about the benefits line, I always talk about only half of it that we have jurisdiction over, right? So half of it is taxation. We have no control over. So that's when you're seeing, if you're a certified staff, 14.5% has to go into the retirement system. If you are a non-certified staff, that's 6.8%. And then you have that health insurance component, and then you have the FICA and Medicare factors that come into play. And so again, additional information for those are found on pages 12 through 14. And then we'll talk about the staff and benefit changes that were negotiated. So an estimated increase of $3.7 million based upon the interest-based bargaining that Lisa led that work, as well as Suzanne Leak as part of that human resource team. Excellent work there. We were able to work with FHEA as well as the ESCs and then FISPA. And then we met with Teamsters and came to agreement for salaries for next year. Other changes to the area of salary and benefits are the additional, it says other staff employee groups, and so that's anybody who's not represented by those negotiated groups. And then we also keep track of our staff turnover. So as if you think about a teacher that might retire at the higher end of a scale, and then bringing in a teacher that might be in the lower end of the scale, each one of those are accounted for, as well as all the positions. And that's actually a cost savings to the district of about $798,000. We do average about $750,000 per year in that area. And so that's a give back into that salary category. And then we talked about the ECSC positions Lisa just mentioned, as well as the title funded positions. And so that overall change is $556,000. We've spoke a lot about our health insurance and the impacts that has had on the expenditures. And with your decision on May 21st, that is a decrease to this area by $2.1 million. which includes the $1 million transfer that we have already had in this year, and so that we will not be planning in next year's budget for that. There's great description on pages 13 and 14, and then on page 36 in the back that's specific to Object Code 6241, where you can see that change over time. The operating expenses, the total operating fund increase is $3.1 million, and you can see that by different budget areas. So some of that is the things that I mentioned there about salary and benefits. Some of it has to do with insurance. Our property insurance went up 15%, which cost $776,000. We have no control over that. That's how much the property insurance goes up. Our utilities are going down. We are going to see a decrease based upon our HVAC improvements of $243,000 in the right direction. And then as I mentioned before, just really starting to understand things like food costs are going up, and that's an additional $170,500.
Excuse me. for a
Yes.
second. Fantastic, 34 slides. We're still going strong.
Okay.
Fantastic. If you're listening at home, I just want to pay attention to when it comes to these kind of budget presentations, it's a hodgepodge of 100 other conversations that have happened. And what you identified was the savings that we are going to receive regarding HVAC and energy costs. What was that number again?
34.
Is that 234?
243,188 is our estimate.
I just want you to hear, when we talk about the stewardship of taxpayer resources, this is what it is included. It is being aware of how to make smart decisions across the entire district. Here's just one example where those conversations led to $243,000 worth of savings.
Yes.
And I know you're presenting it, but for all the staff members who are part of that kind of savings, I just want to name it, call it out while we're on slide 34. So thank you for letting me
Thank you.
interrupt,
Wait.
but I thought it was important enough to call it out.
Does that money, does the 230 or 243, does that include the reimbursements we got from Ameren for upgrading the equipment, or is that operational?
That's the efficiency that will be improved. Yes, that's the expected efficiency with those new systems, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
those reimbursements are out there too.
They're offsetting other costs, right? So, but yes, we're excited for that too.
That's
I
good.
mean, I just wanted to take a moment to get very
Thank you.
granular. So
Yeah.
thank you. Please continue. Thanks.
Yes, it's a conversation of many lines of data for sure.
Good breather, thank you.
This is the overall change to the operating area, which is 3.1 million, as it was in detail on the prior slide. And then now breaking it down into the debt area and the bond area. And so with the debt service, it's pretty straightforward as well. You just look at your amortization schedule and you see what are your principal payments for the year and your interest payments for the year, and how does that change. So it just kind of goes depending on that layout of the amortization schedules. And then the capital projects area, as well as the building improvements area. And again, there are great detail on pages 15, 16, and 17 in paragraph form, and then at the back of the book, 41, 42, and 43 for year-over-year comparison data. And then the total expenses for all funds in that area are decreasing by $60,477,968. Again, that largest portion has to do with the bond fund changes. We'll go into a little bit more detail for our debt service. We've talked about some of these numbers on the other slides. This is just a little bit more information that goes with them, as we have that local tax, the current delinquent tax change. It's an increase where that depends on how the pennies get shifted around and how that can go up and down. That 6713 is in that particular area. And then the amortization schedules are at the back of the book, so you can see full understanding, and those sum total to that amount. And then these slides I have shared again through the last several months, but I wanted just to remind you that overall, when you look at the debt service, it has a beginning balance of its own. You estimate what the revenue is from that levy and then the expenditures that are going out, and then it has a remaining balance. And so at the end of this 27, it will have a balance of $15,105,000. Greater detail of this is on page 19 of the budget book. This is a look at our general obligation debt. So we have 4 that we work towards paying off, and these are from 2019, 2020, 2022, and 2024. And you can see that description there in the middle of what each of those bonds were for and the amount of time of the issuance. And then this is the list of the principal and interest obligations for FY27 and the sum total that we've been talking about for $13,927,400. Same information for our general obligation bonds, but in a graphical format, prepared by Piper Sandler. And that's something that we receive each year in order to make sure that we are meeting those obligations with that part of the levy. And then next is the capital projects. Again, in a similar format, it has a beginning balance of $13 million. Then it brings in from the levy $2.5 million. So that's 6 cents part of the levy brings in about $2.5 million. Our expenditures are at $9.4 million. And then again, that's the reminder why that transfer needs to occur out of our operating over into that, because our normal expenditures in the area of capital run anywhere between about $9 and $10 million per year in order for us to meet non-bond large work over $5,000. Part of what gets paid out of the capital are these leases, and so the leases will also have that principal and interest that are due. And so by looking at that and really understanding that that's a large chunk of what needs to come out, that 1.28 has to come out of the funds that are available to us in capital. And again, that's another reason why that transfer is important for us in order to do the other things beyond the lease. This is a look at the capital projects over time. And so I'll draw your eye to the bottom line, as I mentioned. So we've spent about $9 million. The next year was $7.4 million. The year that we are in, we have it scheduled to be at about $10.1 million. But as a reminder, if those projects finish after June 30th and we're not billed until July 1, that actually shifts over into the next fiscal year. So when you're at this point in the year, it may end a little shorter in the FY26, and then it would be amended in the FY27 in order to take care of those costs. And with that bond, this is particular just the capital projects for bond. Again, we are expecting that the bond funds will be spent out fully in this next fiscal year. So the remaining will be just down to the last projects that are currently underway right now, and that we would expect that there would be no fund balance at the end of FY27. This is the bond language that occurred that is really encompassing those projects that we were talking about. This is a snapshot of the bond financial that you see each month as we go through our regular updates for the finance and operations area. And this is the data that was represented to you on April the 30th. A new one will be brought to you at the June 18th board meeting. Moving into the self-insurance, we talk about this also quite a bit. Ideally, this fund balance at the bottom right-hand corner would be at $7.5 million, which equates to 3 months worth of expenditures that are normal for this account. As we are currently ending this year, we're sitting at about $4.2 million. So we have trended better this year than we did last year. So this time last year is when we were about to finalize that last payment to get to $11 million, moving from our operating into this. This year, we've only put $1 million into this account. And we've received reports that our expenditures are not as terrible as they have been in the past. This particular first quarter of the round, because it really goes from October until March is the data that we were looking at. But this is something that has to be monitored because, again, not having $7.5 million in there means that your operating budget has to be ready in order to shift money should a large expenditure come into this account. Now, this is particular to the operating fund, which is what we talk most significantly about on a monthly basis. And this is really, again, there's a little formula at the top just to remind you. So the general plus the teacher fund balance minus any restricted funds are divided by all your expenditures for your general and teacher funds. And that's how you get the percentage that we talk about so affectionately. And so we want to be above board policy, which is 15%, but really the comfort zone is above 20%. In order for us to make it through our cash flow, which is at its lowest in that September, October, in order for us to make our payroll. Our payroll runs at about $17.8 million for payroll and benefits each month, and so you want to make sure that there's enough in there for you to be able to take care of those needs. And then really, again, following board policy 3114 is what really monitors, and we strive for at or above that 15%. And this budget that we're bringing currently is at 23.07. Reminding you of the operating funds and the breakdown of those, as our local is about 69%, our state makes up 26%, and then the federal and county and other a much smaller percentage of the overall pie that we have for our revenue. And again, this is just strictly for the general and teacher revenues for that's Fund 1 and Fund 2. And that overall revenue is at $257,691,005 for next school year. Our expenditures for the operating are coming in at $262,656,000, so that's slightly higher than what the revenue estimation is. Again, 83% of that is comprised of our salaries and benefits in that larger component, and the rest of it is just the purchase services and supplies. And again, much greater detail in the budget book on pages 11 through 14 for this. And I was just talking about the cash flow, and so with the cash flow, as we are reviewing it the year that we are in, 25-26, you can see that it is a spike that comes in. So as the tax bills go out in November and people start paying in December, the district starts receiving money from the county, and it really starts to come in from that point through about January. And then that's the largest amount that you have, $100 million or so will start to come in, and then that's what you have to make sure lasts throughout the whole school year. And so it's very important for a district to pay attention to that. Should you not pay attention to that, a tax anticipation note is required for you to be able to meet your needs and pay the payroll and the bills that are due. And as a reminder, the district did need to do that in the year 2021, and that was a $6.6 million loan that they had to receive. The assumptions when we are talking about the trajectory chart, so we do update this each month, but I wanted just to share with you what we are assuming. And so we do have that tax increase this year, as I mentioned, for the new construction, that's $2.1 million. And then we have a flat 3% going into next year, which is a reassessed year, and that would be realized in the fall. So not the year that we're going into, but the next one, because that's the year that it is reassessed. And then for 28, looking at the 2%, excuse me, I said that backwards. So 3% for FY28 and 2% for FY29. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be using the 6,700 for our state adequacy target. We do still have budgeted in there a salary increase for next year, not including health insurance, but that 3% for that salary line. And then the health insurance would need to be monitored at an 8% maximum to the premium increase for the fixed cost that we've talked about this year. And there is a snippet of what that trajectory looks like. So for the year that we are in is the first column, 25-26, we expect that we will end with a fund balance of 27.18. And looking at the next column and all of those numbers that we've talked about up to this point summed up. So we've got the $257 million in revenue and the $262 expenditures. That does present this budget as a $4.9 million loss and a deficit spend. That does still include the transfer to capital. As I mentioned, there are those projects that are already in play and that are needing those $5 million in order to continue that process. And then that brings our projected fund balance at this time next year at 23.07. When you look at the next 2 years past that, that is when, if the revenue continues to decrease, that the expenditures would have to be reviewed in order for us to not go below, certainly not go below the 15%, but ideally not even go below the 20%. So as this next year unfolds and any information that's coming, that those expenditures would need to be reviewed.
Excuse me, just calling this out again, this is the June 30th data, right?
Correct.
And the low water mark for our district is in September? Is that
October. November.
Gotcha.
Your largest payroll, the first payroll is September is the largest one.
Yep.
And so it's right after that.
So when we're trying to make sure we don't touch that 15% number, we should look not just at the number of the end of June, but be aware that between June 30th and October, the fund balance just always decreases, and we should be aware of that number.
The fund balance doesn't decrease because this is based upon what we are budgeting. So we expect we'll pay that many bills and we expect we'll have that much revenue. If something were to change in the revenue, like it did this year, that's when it could change the fund balance because it wouldn't meet the budgeted number. So this is what we believe it is. Fund balance is stating June 30th. It's not a monthly number. We just monitor it monthly, considering the budgeted numbers that we have.
I think you shared this before when it comes to like when we get our paychecks and whenever it hits our account, it makes us look like, well, we have all this money in our account, but we don't have 30 days of insurance or 30 days of gas or, and so for us to be aware, not just of the high water marks of the year, but to be aware of the low water marks.
Correct.
As the clearest picture of what we have.
Right, and that's the health check that you have right there. Mhm.
Thank you.
Can we take a look at slide 16 for just a second?
16?
Yes, please.
Uh-huh.
I want to point something out that I've been kind of researching and I'm a little curious about. And it's the dollar value modifier. And please correct me if I am wrong. However, I'm understanding that that dollar value modifier rate has not been updated to account for the inflation that we have been experiencing over the last couple years. Am I correct?
That's correct.
In fact, the more I'm looking into it, I'm finding out that it's so outdated. It's relying on data from sources that don't even exist anymore, and there's even a state task force that has been assembled to try to figure it out, but it hasn't been changed since 2005.
Correct. So what I have mentioned to you before about the modernization of the task force that's going to modernize how we are funded by the state, that's connected to that. And you're right, that was set in the 2005-2006 school year, as well as our local tax effort. That's all been baked into the formula, and then we just rolled with it for 20 years. So that's why they started reviewing it, and you're correct also that that does not exist any longer. So when we go into the next formula, which as a reminder will be presented to the governor on December 1st, 2026, and will go into play 29/30, it won't have a dollar value modifier. It will have something completely different. Okay. They're talking about financial capacity of districts. They're talking about average the median income of a school district. So they're looking at a lot of other things so that it has a more clear picture of what it actually costs to live in our school district. And so that's what we will be hearing more about in the coming months.
And we can expect, hopefully, that the state would recognize that a 21-year-old frozen number is affecting us. Clearly it is. And we would hope that the people that are elected in those positions would consider that and help us move forward, because I don't know about you, but the money I had in 2005 is very different than the money that I need in 2026.
Right. And think of just our area here, how much it's changed in 20 years.
Absolutely.
And you're right.
Yeah.
But that is why they're looking at it, and that is why the task force will recommend something different, because as your research says, it does not exist any longer. They're just repeating what they've been doing, because that factor doesn't exist any longer.
So if I wanted to drive down to Jeff City, have a conversation with somebody, maybe it would be somebody in that task force, or maybe somebody who is in my region that I might have elected, or maybe it's somebody who will just listen to what I have to say about how 21 years is an awful long time to stay stagnant when it comes to the needs of our community.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that is why the governor did have an executive order to fix it, because the 20-year-old formula isn't working.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Close your eyes. I'm going to click fast. I think we were on 58.
Can you go back to slide 2 real quick?
Sure. No problem. That's fun. If I could have only gone this fast the first time. Just kidding. One thing I wanted to point out here, just a fun fact for your knowledge, every 13 cents of a levy is equal to about $5.2 million, and about 1% of the fund balance is worth $2.5 million. So when we talk about those fund balances and really monitoring and making sure that we're staying at or above that 20%, which is really that safety zone, It's just important for us to understand, as it has fluctuated and changed, that's the deficit that that is starting to occur. And so really that's the part that you just want to, again, monitor it monthly, really making sure that you're budgeted exactly the way that you're being paid and the way you're spending your money. It's normal for a budget to have about 4 amendments each school year, so we'll set it into motion with as much information as we have it in the June timeframe. And then just as we get into the fall, again, those federal allocations will get finalized, our staffing will be finalized, we'll kind of shift into the school year, and you'll need a budget amendment at that point to kind of reset that. And then when you get to about mid-year, you want to do it again because your taxes have come in or not. You want to monitor for, did you get paid about 99 to 100% like we have? This past year, remember, we had Senate Bill 190 that was a higher number deficit than we expected. We had budgeted about $750,000. It came in at about $1 million. So again, that would be something else you monitor mid-year. And then when you get to about March, you want to make sure kind of all the money you thought you were going to spend on that year, where are you at with it? And you want to kind of make another adjustment. And then as you end the school year, you'll want to accept where we are in the year, and that's what sets us into what our actual was. And then you start the next school year. So just wanted to give you an ease of what that feels like in order to go through that budget cycle. And this is what we expect that the general budget summary to look like. This also mirrors what is on what's called the ASBR that we've talked about, that we turn into DESE. So as soon as the fiscal year ends, the year we're in, then that information gets finalized and submitted to DESE by August the 15th. And that's what sets us to an official fund balance, to your question, at that moment. And so this is what we would expect it to look like a year from now. And with that, we've made it to next actions, which are really for you to ask as many questions as you would like, really for us to finalize any additional information that we need to bring. We will be finalizing the FY26 budget also as we come back to you on June 18th. And then, again, as I mentioned, the routine budget amendments that are part of the process, and then continued analysis. I thought this year was a lot of analysis. I think next year will be even more. So with that, I will see if you have any questions.
I'm sorry, I just was going to mention that I know there are additional attachments there in the meeting invite, or agenda, sorry. But that supplemental budget workbook that you've got is so great for anybody who wants to just take a real thorough look.
I can put that out there too, yeah.
No, the one that's in there.
Oh, the full budget book? Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. It's so helpful. I just wanted to draw people's attention to it because while you went through the deck here, like that's just so thorough and really helps add so much context and supplemental information to explain. So if anybody wants to geek out a little bit on all of those 61 slides or whatever, it's so helpful.
That's where I was trying to make that connection to the page numbers too, because I think if you just look at that budget book for the first time, it can just feel really overwhelming. But it's really just layers all pieced together that create that beautiful budget book. So.
Can you go back to the slide with the future projections?
This one or?
That one.
Yep.
So I'm looking at this, and tell me if I'm wrong or right. So look at this as we go forward through the years, that 2028, 2029, the 6 of us and 1 person on vacation will still be sitting in these seats. Having to make a decision about what we cut, is that what that's telling me?
Well, so remember my assumption. So that assumption that I provide that gets you to this is a 3% salary increase and an 8% insurance increase. And again, those are the 2 largest expenditures. So without additional fund revenue coming in, and you keep those 2 assumptions, that's what is happening. So we're trying to keep pace with the way that we want those things to occur, but without additional revenues, you would have to make a decision on one of those 2 things or have fewer people, because that's the largest expenditure to the budget.
We already have a state that's not funding us.
Right.
And we don't know what's going to happen with taxes in general between now and then.
Correct.
You're not giving me good news.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just the reality.
The public can step up and help us.
A levy increase would change. We are the lowest levy in our county. And so that in itself would bring, as I mentioned, right there, 13 cents of a levy is $5.2 million. So if you increase the levy for operating.
Is there any easy waste that people always talk about this? But I've gone through this budget. I don't see anything.
No. I would even say that there are people who I know were saying there's waste, but when they were asked, they didn't have any waste to point to.
Right.
Scrappy is the word.
Scrappy is the word of the day.
Yeah.
I guess, finish my thoughts. So I guess right now, we're gonna spend a deficit this year with this recommendation, but we can't keep this up.
No, I would say too, the debt service levy transfer that we're talking about, remember bringing that over, that's that $5.2 million, it's 12.5% or 12.5 cents that we've talked about. And that would, so that 4.9 million would occur in this next round, but then that would level set for the next year. So I'll bring projections of that in the coming next board meeting so that you can see what that looks like in this chart.
So that's a no tax increase way to kind of kick the can down a little bit further.
Right, it moves that money out of debt service that it's not needed and put it over in the operating so that you can prop that back up.
Without any tax increase to
No,
residents.
correct. You're just moving pennies out of one pocket into the next.
Buttons and levers.
Dr. St. John, I just want to add as well to your question, Mr. McGuire, the other unknown is the governor's task force that Director Olkey brought up. That could positively impact us, or it could have a negative impact to the district. So as much as we see these numbers, Dr. St. John is working with what she knows at this time, and that is going to be a big unknown for Francis Howell School District until we see what occurs in December.
My car seats about 6 people and maybe 2 in the trunk if we need to go to Jeff City.
One of the other pieces, just to call out again, is that if the governor signs Senate Bill 1002, we are limited to when we can pull levers to respond to these kind of needs. Which means that if that is signed into law outside of November 2026, we couldn't do anything regarding a ballot initiative until November 28 to address a huge issue regarding a construction need, human
Or
resources.
the state funding going down,
Just
right.
anything, right? And so, because Senate Bill 1002 applies just to St. Charles County, we have to be wise, realizing that the future of funding is going to be very tempestuous. And we have to be ready to drive this particular district through those uncertain years as well, knowing that while other districts across the entire state can pull levers to change things on the fly in April and August and November, we would be confined and restricted to even year Novembers. So when it comes to like how we're talking about money, this is to get to the public and those who are here, we're having to make the wisest decisions possible based upon information that's changing week by week. And the forecast is nothing but reliable change and chaos. And so I wanted to say thank you again for letting us know that the board is having to provide wise financial leadership during a very uncertain time, knowing that we're constantly being limited or defunded. And so I just want to say thank you. But again, I know I've been saying this for the last year, whenever there's an opportunity to say it, but the public needs to know. And the public did stand up, again, when it came to Senate Bill 3 or Proposition RT, the public had public education's backs. Otherwise, we'd have $4 million less this year and $7 million less next year. And so I just want to say we're navigating with the best information possible that leads to painful decisions like we heard earlier about health insurance changes and the one employee that we heard about. That's awful. I don't want that to happen. I don't think anybody here wants anybody who's a staff member to get less benefits. But when you get $6 million less this fiscal year and $3 million less last fiscal year, you have $9 million less to operate with. We either have to make those kind of decisions or we get that happening where in our future we have people being laid off, people having their pay frozen or skipped steps. I want to say thank you, and when we talk about this particular budget to be approved on the 18th, and amendments or edits that might happen too, right? I just want everyone to know that this board is doing their absolute best it can, given the situation that we are downstream from. And we will continue to do that, following our values of financial stewardship and caring for the people, because those two things help us care for the kids. And so we will continue to hold on to those values but we will have to use the numbers and the money that we have at our disposal to do it. And so I want to say thank you for sharing the information, and for the public to, again, pay attention that we are sharing with you transparently everything right in front.
We also, right or wrong, Amendment 5, I believe it is, it's going to be on the ballot in August.
For income tax?
For eliminating income tax and dealing with sales tax and all of that stuff. That also, like, we don't get direct money from income tax, but that funds the
It
state
goes
formula
into the state
that
formula,
then
correct.
comes to us. So,
Right.
another fun one to watch.
Right.
Director Adams.
Previously, you had mentioned that we transfer money from operating to capital because we need to be prepared for those big projects that we're not prepared for. That just makes sure that when something happens, we're prepared, and also just to keep us budgeted for planned projects. Could you share the history, if you have it, I'm not sure how long ago it was, on why $5 million was the number and how long that's been in place? And if you have any data based on all of this, of when we may be in a position, based on the number of projects that we've completed, that figure could be looked at to see if 5 million is still the good number, or, well, we've done quite a lot, we're in a good place, maybe we can take it down to 4 million or something on those lines.
It actually has been higher. This doesn't have the full picture, but it does tell you the historical spend out of capital. So the bottom line there you can see is 9 million, 7 million, 10 million, scheduled for 9.4 million. And then again, in the budget book, you have a very lengthy understanding of all of the things. We include all of the categories for capital spend, and then some years they get zeroed out. And so really just to show you here, it is a good number. I mean, that number is about $9 to $10 million per year. It's not really the emergency number. It's really these are the things that need to occur. So $1.2 million is just going to be leases, I believe, and then you've got additional payments that you have to make, and interest for that, and then you've just got the things that you have to purchase along the way, whether that be the hardware or building equipment. And so those are the things, again, that 6 cents only brings in $2.5 million. I think it's back here. The revenue that comes into this account naturally or through the levy is only $2.5 million. And so we put that additional $5 million in there in order to pair with that and then take care of those projects. Anything that really gets out and beyond that is what you put into a bond issue. And so I would be happy to pull for you the history of that. It's on the larger trajectory chart that I usually share, so I'll bring that next time. But it has been high. The transfer has been higher. DESI tells you how much the transfer can be based upon your operating, 7% of your operating calculation. And so that, my answer is that it's a really low levy amount that's coming into such a large district. I've worked in other districts that were much smaller, and they had 6 pennies. I mean, 6 pennies is just not that much to cover.
Gotcha. And you unless the rest of the board wants it, don't worry about the history. I just didn't know if you knew off the top of your head. But based on everything that you've researched and as you compile the data, would you say that 5 million is still the safe number that we should stick with for the foreseeable future to cover everything that you just mentioned?
Yeah, and I do happen to have it here with me. I just remember I had it in the back. So in 22-23, it was 6.696 million transferred. 23-24, 9.1 million transferred. 24-25, 7.2 million transferred. This year we are at 5 million, and then I'm projecting out 5 million. So right now at 5 million with a slight fund balance, that I do believe is the right number. And because we were just finishing another bond, that's another reason that you may have a little wiggle room in there. But I think the answer for now, yes, is $5 million. That is my recommendation.
Perfect, thank you. And the other thing I just wanted to say is kind of echoing President Blair and Mr. McGuire's thoughts. The district's obligation is to provide a budget each year, and you've done what you've been required to do in the budget book. But I think that a combination of administration and maybe the previous board has requested you and your department to do so much more than what you've been required to do. The 2 documents that you provided back in May, I had to copy and paste it to see what type size it was. It was .11, and it was 40 pages worth of data that in theory you didn't have to prepare and didn't have to present. In theory, you could have not mentioned anything until this meeting today for us to take into consideration to vote next month. So I say all that to say that we could have made that decision and left not only the board but the community in the dark and just said at the last minute, by the way, our revenue kind of sucks, this is what it is, vote on it next meeting. Or you could have done what you did, which was educate us over time, prepare a very in-depth document, and prove to the public that we take the finances very seriously and dispel the misconceptions that we are not good with money, that we clearly are taking this seriously, as Mrs. Simpkins showed with her previous presentation about staffing and what you projected out. We're doing a really good job with everyone's money, and when we don't have a lot of it, you've done an equally good job preparing us for the future to make sure that we hopefully don't get below that 15% and below. So thank you.
I want to say thank you to Julie Walsh, the Director of Finance. She's done an amazing job endlessly working. Thank you, Julie. Couldn't do it without her. She's amazing.
Thank you, Julie.
We check and recheck all the numbers multiple times, so thank you.
Anything else, board? We will have it for
Thank you.
on the 18th. Thank you. Thank you. Board, next we have a first reading on 3 regulations. They will be brought back to the June 18th meeting for a second reading and vote. Everybody just take a moment to look at that between now and the next meeting. Board, I have a motion to approve the policies and regulations as presented.
Second.
Vice President Greider, seconded by Director Adams. Board, any conversations? I'm trying to pull up a...
It looks like we had a very detailed accelerated subject program, and now we're making it more flexible, right?
Yeah, there's just a lot more options that we have available. We keep increasing options, so making it a little bit more versatile so that way we can provide many more options as we go forward. The last time I believe that was reviewed was 2014, and it were limited.
Said it was in 2021. Maybe they didn't change anything.
Can you name the policy you're looking at?
Oh, I'm sorry. 6161. Oh, wait, it was 2014. Yeah, you're correct. We're striking a lot of stuff, but offering more flexibility. So.
Correct, yeah.
All right. Board, before the vote, I just want to read something from, is it 1300?
That's the...
Equal opportunity?
Yeah, but it's the second readings. Are we still on first readings?
No, we skipped back. That was just for,
No.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at the second.
I was just looking, I was like, wait, that was.
Gotcha. I just want to say, especially with this being June, want to read that this district is committed to maintaining a workplace and educational environment that is free from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation in admission or access to or treatment or employment in its programs, services, activities, and facilities. The district is committed to providing equal opportunity in all areas of education, recruiting, hiring, retention, promotion, and contracted service. In its programs and activity, the district does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, age, genetic information, or any other characteristic protected by law and as required by Title VI and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title IX of the Educational Amendments, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Age Discrimination Act of 1975, Title II, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and state law. I just wanted to say that when I vote proudly in support of those words. That we want to make sure that that the nuts and bolts, the policies and procedures of this district provide the best education for all students, and that's part of what 1300 allows us to do. Other comments, board?
I guess while we're on 1300, Mr. Delaney, I contacted you about that. You just President Blair just read all those titles and acts and laws that are part of that policy, but for some reason this paragraph is not consistent with the next section referring to equal access of youth groups. That part should reference the No Child Left Behind Act of 2004 and Title 36 groups, but we only call out one group in that paragraph.
Yeah, so that policy is written by our policy writer, who are a group of attorneys that make that recommendation based upon identified protected classes. No Child Left Behind is not current law, and so we identify a particular group. There was a recommendation to change from Boy Scouts to, I think it's Scouting America or something in those terms, which we made that adaptation. But it is not to identify individual groups as identified by No Child Left Behind, because that is no longer current legislation.
I understand that, but the origin of that was the Title 36 groups, which includes Girl Scouts of America, Boys and Girls Clubs, Future Farmers in America, yet for some reason we're calling out a single organization.
If the board wants to direct us to add every single group, I mean, we're happy to do that, but I think the purpose of the way the policy is written to identify the type of groups that we are looking to include, and we are inclusive of all of those groups that are being identified.
Let me be clear, I don't think anyone I'm attacking Scouts of America. It's great. I just want to make sure we're not leaving out all these other great organizations that are also supposed to be granted access.
You know, we do not leave those organizations out. So,
but they're not in the policy. You guys are going to learn really quick over the next 4 years. I'm a stickler for details. And engineers don't often agree with lawyers.
Duly noted.
Other comments?
Mr. Blair, I just wanted to add that for the board's point of reference and for the community, you'll notice that we have some adaptations to policy and regulation 7132 and policy 7210. All three of those policies are being updated to ensure transparency with the board and community on all construction projects, and to bring some clarity to some of our processes that we already follow, but to embed that in writing of our policies and regulations.
Thank you for naming that for the public. There's nothing else. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Next we have superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Blair. I'll keep my comments brief this evening. I want to congratulate Rebecca McGuire on becoming the 2026 Missouri State High School Athletic Association Class 5 Girls Pole Vault State Champion. Say that 5 times. Rebecca cleared, and I hope I don't get this wrong, 12 feet, 3.5 inches, or 3.75 meters to capture the state title for Francis Howell North. So congratulations to Rebecca. We hope you're tuning in. Also, summer school started June 1st. We are excited to have a couple thousand students engaged in learning throughout the summer months. Also hosting various summer camps for elementary and middle school students. I want to recognize and thank all the teachers and staff who are working to make our summer program successful. Last week, I had the opportunity, along with several board members, to attend the graduation ceremony for Francis Howell Union. Graduation is always a celebration of many years of hard work by our students and our staff. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing so many excited and happy students and families, as well as the great photo slide shown of all the memories of students throughout the years at Francis Howell Union. We are looking forward to celebrating our graduates from Westwood Trail Academy this Friday, and graduates from Francis Howell Central, Francis Howell North, and Francis Howell High School on Saturday at the Family Arena, along with many of our board members. I'll remind the community that the Family Arena ceremonies will be live streamed, and patrons can find those links on the graduation page of the district website. Next week, on June 8th and 9th, we will hold our annual SIP Summit. This is where we bring our administrators and teacher leaders from across the district together for 2 days of learning and collaboration. Participants focus on school improvement planning. They study the FHSD instructional framework, examine student behavior data, engage in specific PD based upon their grade levels, and then get to work on their school improvement plans for the next school year. I'd like to thank Mr. Hancock, Dr. Altman, and Dr. Angeline O'Neill-Hograve, and all the other facilitators for planning this important PD opportunity. I'd like to also share something that was shared a little bit earlier, but just to add to that, that our Human Resources Department and Transportation Departments will team up to host a job fair on June 15th from 1 to 4 at the Transportation Headquarters at 4545 Central School Road. It's a great opportunity for potential bus drivers and bus monitors to come out and learn, talk to the team, learn what it's like to work not only for Francis Howell, but as a bus driver or monitor, and help us safely transport more than 10,000 students. Please help us spread the word. And finally, Mr. Blair, as you're aware, unfortunately, I will not be able to be in attendance at the next board meeting on June 18th. And I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to publicly thank Dr. Amy St. John. Don't do that. For all her work and her partnership this year. She has been a tremendous asset to our team. She has challenged the status quo and constantly has sought process improvement throughout this district. Amy, from me, I want you to know I'll miss your partnership and appreciate all that you've done for Francis Howell.
Thank you. Us too.
Thank you. We get you to say that. Board of Education comments. We'll start. Carolyn.
Carolyn down the road.
Oh, we just.
No, he named you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Carolyn.
Okay, well, not to pile on, but approximately 90% of students in Missouri go to public schools. Average teacher pay in Missouri ranks 49th in the United States. Missouri ranks 49th in the amount that the state's share gives to public school funding K through 12. So that's 249s, not too good. Plus, $44 million was distributed in voucher school scholarships in 25-26. And that money came from state taxpayers. Public schools accept all students, unlike private and parochial schools. Public schools offer resources to our special needs students, also unlike private and parochial schools. Knowing these facts, we must ask, why is our state continuing to underfund or defund public education? When are we going to demand that Missouri prioritizes the needs of public schools and 90% of our students? If we can't fix this, the future of public education and the future for our students is in great peril. We must stand up for public education, all of us.
Thank you.
We can go down, right?
No, I'm last.
Oh, okay.
Make me last.
So thank you. One thing that Ms. Delaney mentioned that kind of jogged in memory was at the Francis Howell Union graduation. And at the very end of it, when everyone was kind of dispersing, I noticed that you stayed on the stage and you were dancing and you just looked genuinely proud of the students out there. So I wanted to publicly congratulate you on, everyone looks confused.
Is he dancing?
Your dance moves?
I mean, you would think that it was dancing, maybe the rest of us would think it was something else. But I wanted to congratulate you on your first graduation as superintendent. You thanked the students, you thanked the staff for making that happen, but a lot of it was your work that went into it this year, so congratulations on your first graduation.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
Good call.
Thank you. And you're a fantastic dancer. I also want to wish everyone a happy Pride Month. While this month isn't my month per se, I wanted to share what it means to me. It's a month where we get to recognize and show our support visibly and vocally to our LGBTQ friends, family, neighbors, and community. For our students who know who they are, but are maybe afraid to express themselves publicly, and to our staff who are hesitant to talk about their spouses in class because of the fear of what parents may say if their child discusses it at home. Please know that you have a home here. We're happy that you're here. We're glad you're here, and I wish you a happy Pride. Thank you.
All right. I just want to say congratulations again to all of our graduates. I'm very excited. The Francis Howell Union graduation was amazing. Kicked it off. I know we've got one tomorrow and 3 on all day Saturday, so we're going to be spending a lot of time with everybody here. So very excited though, but congratulations to all the graduates. I know we'll see you one more meeting, right? So just Mr. Delaney's not going to be here, so we'll have words for Dr. St. John next time, but +1 to everything Mr. Delaney said already. And yes, also happy Pride Month to everybody. I know everybody said something. I just also want to add that there are a lot of people in our community who don't always feel like their lives are celebrated or that they are celebrated. But I have a great quote that I love from Chris Colfer, who says, "There's nothing wrong with you. There's a lot wrong with the world you live in." So celebrate yourself. I celebrate you.
Okay. I want to say also congratulations, Rebecca McGuire. No relation, but other mid-grade athletes from Francis Howell high schools can be at state. Just to make it the state and track is an amazing event. So congratulations to all of them. I'll also add all of this budget discussion, all these numbers, everything is available online to the public. It is fully transparent. Everything we approved today, every bid, every dollar, go to the board docs, which is now going to be diligent, and you can see every penny the school district is trying to figure out what to spend. It is full transparent. There's nothing hidden. So I see people making comments that they want to eliminate waste and find savings. If you see something that can save the district money and make us more efficient, please speak up. We are tight and we can take any advice. There's 7 of us, there's a whole district building, but nobody's perfect. So speak up if you see anything, and we're happily try to save money, but not at the expense of our students. And then last, I just want to say I'm so looking forward to graduation. Francis Howell Union was amazing to be there, just to see the celebration and honor the students and the pride and the families, and to see that 3 more times. I'm going to miss one on Saturday for other reasons, but I'll be at the other 3. I'll remind all parents and families, every student gets to hear their name one time, they get one chance. So I hope this is reminded on Saturday at the graduations. Please do not shout over the reading of the names and have a family miss their child's name. Celebrate your own quickly and appropriately, and then quiet down so we can hear the next name and celebrate every single one of these kids who are still going to graduate. And I can't wait to be on stage and hand them diplomas. It's going to be a blast. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ready?
Okay.
I wanted to this.
Get over the hump.
I know. Okay. I wanted to go last tonight because I wanted to take a moment to share something deeply personal. Two months ago, my family experienced a loss that is inexplicable. There are no words that can hold those feelings. Losing my daughter, Melissa, has been the hardest thing I have ever faced. And yet, in the midst of this darkness, so many people I love, people I disagree with, neighbors, strangers, colleagues, people who know my children, people I've never formally met, people who simply understand this kind of pain and more, and people that I can never possibly thank, all of them individually, showed up with calls, messages, cards, meals, and quiet acts of kindness for our family in ways that are not only a reflection of who we are as a community, but something that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. What I have felt from this community, our community, is beautiful.
It's comforting and so incredibly compassionate and human. I've sat in this seat for the last year, caring deeply about what kind of a place we are building together for all of our students, past, present, and future. Both of my children experienced a wonderful and memorable education in Francis Howell, and I did the math, which we all know. I teach ELA for a reason, not math. But from parents as teachers to graduation means that approximately 17 years my children were supported and nurtured as they learned and grew within our district. 17 years. I wanted to share that I am so grateful to every teacher and librarian and secretary and administrator and bus driver and custodian and coach and counselor, the support staff and Board of Education members, and then the parents and the PTOs that continuously do the wonderful work to enrich the lives of our kids. And tonight I want to say that I believe so passionately in our community because when it matters the most, I have truly seen who we are. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for the grace that you have extended to me and my family for not only 17 years, but especially the last 2 months. I'm honored to serve you as part of this community, and I look forward to continuing to do that work. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
You are loved. Families loved. I am glad that your daughter, Melissa, had Francis Howell for 17 years. The people who are here, I've seen them. People who aren't here, I've seen them reach out to you because they know the love you have for them too. Will you all please join me for a moment of silence for Melissa Oakey? We are thankful for the way that Melissa made our lives better, especially her family and her friends. This world was more beautiful because of her. We are thankful for all the teachers and staff and family who loved her. And to share that same amount of dedication to over 16,000 other students. May we continue to honor every student. And Sarah, may you know that you are surrounded by a community who cares about you very, very much.
Thank you.
Sarah's a hugger, and so if anybody here...
Don't do it. Don't do it. I need to dip out, guys.
Put that hug in your pocket.
Save it for another time.
But I'm just, if you're here and you want to just share with her a hug from afar, just maybe reach out to her and just reach out and just say, I love you. To the rest of the public, thank you for allowing us that moment. Sarah, you are an example of strength and resilience, and we see it, and we're so thankful. For everyone else, I want to just name Happy Pride Month. Our school district is better because of all of you who are part of it, whether you're a teacher, staff, student. You are important. You see us, and if I need to say it louder than I have been, I will. You are loved, and we are so thankful for you. Everyone else want to pay attention. On June 18th, we'll talk about bond issue, no tax increase. Those are seemingly odd topics to mention after what we just shared, but both of those allow us to care for kids, and so we'll discuss those on the June 18th. And for all the graduations happening, congratulations to all the graduates. We're so proud of you.
Congratulations to all the kiddos.
To all the kiddos. So, Board, I have a motion to adjourn open session. Do I have a first and second?
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer McGuire and Vice President Greider. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you all for joining us for this board meeting.